Okay. Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another War of the Visions video. And this is kind of a special video today because we're going to do a sort of like masterclass. I guess I'm not wearing a tie. I was going to push up my tie. Don't have one on, whatever. Anyway, we're going to do a sort of masterclass here on Oberon today because he is absolutely an S-tier damage dealing unit in this game. However, he takes some thought. He's not like a Black Rose Helena where you can just roll her out there and she's healing and she's killing and she's shielding and she's doing everything perfectly. Now, Oberon takes a little bit of AI tuning to make work. So I'm going to show you like how to figure out how his AI works, how to set him up for success, and how if you do that, he will walk out here and just stomp everybody for you. Let's talk about Oberon right now. Okay, let's actually start things off here with a battle because I do think that's the most interesting way. Now, this build that I have Oberon running, I call it like the Infiltrator Oberon, right? Like Secret Agent Oberon, where he's going to drop his hate and he's going to go into the enemy backline. They're going to ignore him and he's going to kill everybody. I accomplished this with Katone's TMR, and I'm going to talk to you guys in a second here about why I think this Fleetfoot buff is so dang good on Oberon. But let's watch the fight play out. Like, watch the actual effects of this live and in action. Notice I'm pairing him up with the ultimate unit in the game, Eileen, the goddess herself, a great partner for Oberon, but really Earth is in a strong place, and Oberon is just a strong Earth unit to bring no matter what. Now, look at how Oberon is like absolutely just climbed the other team's mountain, like went across the map, climbed their mountain, and did Cloud shoot him on the way over? No, because he used that buff. Now let's pause a second and watch Eileen do 12,000 damage to Charlotte. That was pretty cool. And then we're going to watch Oberon do 12,000 damage to Aerith. Now yes, Eileen had the advantage of having a chain built for her, but Oberon just wrecked those dudes. Like, he absolutely just wrecked everybody right there. That was insane. We did so much damage, and everybody on their team just ignored Oberon. He walked up to the back line, he killed everybody, and this is a build you can absolutely do with this guy by either having Katone's TMR or having a tank. Let's talk a little bit deeper about Oberon next. Okay, so I'm going to put another fight on the screen here, but I'm going to overlay this fight with some graphics to kind of talk about Oberon's AI. So first things first, when a new unit comes out, I like to identify what I think of like as their core, like TP skill, their core buff. And for Oberon, I think that's Purple Dragon's Aegis. This buff is insanely good. Oberon is a DPS unit, it gives him Pierce Attack to help him kill people, and it gives him a barrier, which turns him into like a semi-bruiser. In fact, this dude has the stat pool, he has this buff, he is a bruiser who does the damage of a hyper carry, especially if he has this buff enabled. So I think an important thing when you're playing Oberon is to consider how can you get him to use this buff if you want him to, and then the second thing I think you need to consider is his TMR usage. So next, I'm going to throw a flowchart onto the screen here, and I want to talk about AI in general and then Oberon's AI. First off, Oberon is a DPS unit. That is his core brain, right? Is going to focus on doing damage. So if he's ever in range to hurt somebody, he's going to do that. He will prioritize damage over everything else. However, early on in fights, you're oftentimes not in range to do damage. So how is his AI going to function in terms of buffing? It's going to function like this. He loves to group buff. You guys, his AI prioritizes group buffs over every other thing in the whole world, especially if he's in a lower priority slot than someone else in your group, and especially if you're not running a tank. What I mean is this, if you have a unit in slot 2, they will look to go buff the unit in slot 1, or they will go look to buff a tank or somebody that has some hate. So Oberon is a group buffer, man. He loves to group buff, and there you can see like the order in which he likes to use his group buffs. He really likes to cast Concentration. That's from a sub job. He really likes Purple Dragon's Providence. That's from his main job. And he really likes Double Resist, which is another sub job buff. So if you want him using those buffs, he will absolutely use them, especially if you have him in like a slot 2 or slot 3 in the group. However, that's kind of a problem because TMR buffs and Purple Dragon's Aegis, I think, are probably his two most important buffs in a lot of situations. His AI prioritizes his TMR buff second, especially if it is a solo buff for him. Think of it like this. Oberon's AI will always AoE buff and then he'll single target buff. That also applies to TMRs. So something like Ketone's TMR, Jesus Bells, he will prioritize that second. And then his last priority is Purple Dragon's Aegis. One of his most important skills, he will, it's his freaking last priority. And then Banner of the Dragon is also over there, although I think you should leave Banner of the Dragon off in most scenarios here. His AI will actually, my graphics a little backwards, his AI will cast Banner of the Dragon before it even cast Purple Dragon's Aegis. So that's his priority flowchart, right? Group buffs, TMR buffs, solo buffs. If you want the dude using Purple Dragon's Aegis, you have some options. You need to either turn off all the rest of his buffs, then he'll just use that, close the gap, and start killing, or only leave on a couple buffs. I'm going to go to some different fights here, and I'm going to show you how you can set Oberon up to get his important buffs off and how to kind of use him optimally. Okay, so keeping in mind the flowchart we talked about, I'm going to show you how I like to use Oberon if I want him to cast that shield that I like so much. So in this team comp, I am running Eileen, Oberon, and Prince Mont. Another way you can kind of keep Oberon safe is to run a tank with him, so I'm counting on Prince Mont going in there, getting a taunting blade off, etc. Now look what Oberon did on his first turn. He ran over to Eileen and cast his AoE resist buff. I told you, the dude just loves to cast his group buffs. So he's done that, whatever, we're taking some AoEs, that buff is helping him survive, but look what he did second. He walked forward and used his shield. That's perfect. Now he's heading towards the back line, Eileen got sniped by the enemy, but Oberon has AoE resist, and he has his shield up. This is going to help him close that gap, and now Prince Mont has gathered hate, so Oberon is perfectly safe at this point. Mont is going to go in there and take things, take things. He's not stealing, he's tanking. Anyway, Mont's in there tanking. Oberon's going to infiltrate the back line and start killing people. He's going to start with Fred. There's 9,000 damage for you, Fred. Get out of my game. Prince Mont's like jamming, edging Cloud over here and killing him. And now it's Mont and Oberon in a 1v1 against the enemy's Oberon. Cool. We gotta feel pretty good about this. And like, watch Prince Mont just, this turns into kind of a Prince Mont showcase. I see a killer drain blade like sustain tanks the enemy Oberon. Like, look at this, he's healing himself. Oberon's like, what the heck, dude, die. Mont's like, bro, I'm the Prince Mont. I'm the main character of the first, like, however many chapters of this story. Our Oberon kills Oberon, and boom, that is how you can get your Oberon to cast that shield buff, right? Okay, let's end the video with just some team building tips and talk briefly about Espers and Vision cards. So first up, if you want Oberon to do what you just saw him do in that last video, let me show you how you would build him. I like to run just his Skyblazing Dragon King sub job here because, like, the subjugating spear can be kind of nice. I turn Banner of the Dragon off because he prioritizes using that over his shield too much, so I just get rid of that, turn it off. Then I would also, in this case, turn off his TMR because he will also prioritize using that over his shield. Then I have him in slot 2 here because, like I've said so many times, and what I think a lot of people don't understand is a unit in slot 2 will prioritize giving buffs to a unit in slot 1 unless somebody has hate. Like, if this was King Mont with his passive hate on, Oberon would bolt over to him to start the fight, give him a buff, but it's not. It's Ryryu, there's no hate here. So with this build, Oberon will run to Eileen, turn 1. He will then cast this buff right here, Purple Dragon's Providence. After that, he will move forward towards the enemy, casting Purple Dragon's Aegis. He's ready to go at this point, full on damage mode. He's going to kill everybody. That's the setup there. If I instead wanted Oberon to run forward immediately at the start of the fight, I could start him in slot 1. This way no one else has priority over him. In this case, I would enable his TMR buff here so he drops aggro so he's not getting focused on the way in, and he'll literally just pop this buff, run at the enemy, and he's going to close that gap and just annihilate them. So that's that setup, and it will change a little bit based on maps, but this is the map we have to show off right now, so that's the map we're going to learn on. The core tenets of this stay the same. Remember the flow chart, remember just how his AI works, that will really help you build him. Now, briefly with Espers and Vision cards, I'm not going to throw like a whole bunch of lists on the screen here, like which ones are great. Instead, I'm going to give you some talking points because you know what you have. for Espers. The stat line, he likes attack, he likes agility, he likes HP, he's a DPS unit, right? Ability boards, look for human killer, earth attack up, pierce attack, or specific killers if you're like fighting lightning and want to run lightning killer, something like that. Bambi, Titan, Ifrit, Odin, those are some really good ones just right off the top. Okay, vision cards. Really focus in on damage here. This guy wants to kill folks, so help him kill folks. He's a carry. Titan, really good on him. Bambi, Eliphalocurus, or however you say it. That card is meant for him. It's really good on him. So's Titan. If you can use them both, like in the example we just showed on the screen, use both. He will pop off if you have both of those equipped. And then for PvE, don't forget, you can equip Exorcist on him for some big time slashing chains. Alright. That's it, y'all. That's my little video on Oberon, kind of how to make him work. I hope this helped you if you were struggling with him. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.